Welcome to the Sound of Inspiration. This is your host Ashoo, and you're listening to the Sound of Inspiration. Stay tuned. Today's episode is about seeing or finding hope in the dark. When we're going through life situations or the dark times in our lives, how can we find hope? That is a question that I think each one of us is looking to get answer. We're trying to find answers for ourselves, and however, when we are stuck in that depth of challenge or the dark times, often it's very difficult to explore and think with clarity to understand what skills or strategies we need to navigate through such challenging times. We often find that something is not right in our lives, something is not working in our lives, and I'm sure there are a lot of people at this moment around the world who might be going through the darkest times of their life as well. So, how can we find hope and light in such times? That is the question we're going to explore in this episode. And I find that I really love this quotation by Rumi that says, what hurts you blesses you, darkness is your candle. So, when we are rushing from one task to another, or facing our fears and insecurities in day to day life, or we are going through maybe certain conditions which are kind of not allowing us to see that there is a ray of hope around us, seeing a sparkle of light or our ability to access those resources within us where we can access this hope becomes very important. A lot of people, they go into depression, and the depression becomes so deep that they resort to actions where they don't even value their lives. So that's really sad. That really breaks my heart to look these things happening around in the world. So what can we do that we can see a ray of hope and a ray of light in such dark times? I think that it depends upon our ability to how we train ourselves to react in such times, and able to inspire us in such times. We all have the resources necessary to sail through the difficult times. Uh, However, when those resources have not been awakened in those challenging situations, that we don't have those access to those resources, when one after another challenge overtakes us. So every challenge has a purpose. I firmly believe in that. And when we can train ourselves to perceive our challenges from that perspective, that this challenge has something in it for me, and it's like a puzzle right now, but I'm very curious to explore this puzzle. So even if you can develop this perspective, I see a lot of hope in that, because you are keen to explore, you are keen to figure out for yourself something. So there is a ray of hope. I think this is very helpful to me, especially if I'm going through a challenge or a difficult situation or dark times. I always utilize that resource of being able to look at the positive outcome in that, and it's like I am training myself in that moments, that there's something that I need to access within my own self that could allow me to navigate through this darkness or this difficult time, so that I once I'm out of this, I have acquired something. I have become a stronger person. I have identified something within me that was beyond my access earlier on. So I think that is a very important skill or quality to develop in yourself in those times, to be able to see the benefit in the darkness. And that benefit could be that you're growing or expanding your self-awareness around your own ability to navigate through that darkness. And it's like your ability to access those positive points of your own consciousness, the positive points of your own ability, where you can learn to navigate through the darkness with inspiration, with hope. It reminds me of a story about this girl who went to her father, and she told the father that her life is a constant struggle and she finds herself fighting. So she was complaining to her father, and her father was chef. So he brought his daughter to the kitchen, and he put three pots of water on the three burners there. In one pot he put the potatoes, in the other pot he put the eggs, and in the third pot he put the ground coffee beans. He let them boil for a good amount of time. The daughter was growing impatient. She was moaning and she was strolling in the kitchen. After 20 minutes, without saying anything to the daughter, he called the daughter and told her to look at the pots. The daughter looked into the pots, and then uh, she she said, he said, "What can you see here in the pot?" She said, "I can see potatoes, eggs, and coffee." Then he took the potatoes out and put them in the bowl. He took the eggs out, put them in the bowl. He took the coffee out of the pot, poured it in one of the cups. And now he said to the daughter, "Look closely and tell me, what do you notice?" Daughter said the potatoes, she touched the potato and she said the potato has turned softer. And then she peeled the hard shell of the eggs, and she said the egg has become harder from its earlier liquid consistency. And then she took a sip from the cup of coffee, and as she took a sip, a smile rose on her face, and the rich aromas of the coffee really sent those pleasant sensations to her that made her smile. So father asked daughter, "Have you seen how the three things have reacted when they were put in the same adversity of boiling water? So which one you are, if you have to tell yourself, then which one are you?" Potatoes became softer from their hardness, they turned softer. Eggs, from their fragility, they turned stronger. And coffee had a unique thing about it. The coffee changed the environment it was in. So, which one are you? So I really like the metaphor given by this chef father to his daughter, that all of us sail through the adverse circumstances, but how we react to those circumstances, that is the key to finding hope in the darkness. How are we tuning our brains, our minds, and our consciousness to navigate through the darkness is very important, because we go about living our everyday lives, just seeing what's wrong in there, what's wrong in our relationships, what's wrong in our jobs, what's wrong in our day-to-day life. So learning to utilize the parts of our unique ability to look for what is good in that adversity is kind of a good ray of hope for us, because we need to understand and feel the darkness in order to appreciate light. So it becomes very important that in the dark times we can train ourselves. It's a training, it's a growth that we have to go through in order to enjoy each other day that follows in a better way. And that is a kind of reaching out to a potential of evolution and growth in every aspect of our being. So it's very important we follow that sequence of our growth, because if we imagine that life is just a sunshine, then we won't be able to uh, appreciate that sunshine for long time, because we will start taking it for granted. So every dark time, every challenge that we experience in our lives, I think that is a kind of uh, a reminder that don't we must not take things for granted. So darkness is kind of an antidote to put us in that state of gratitude, where we can remind ourselves constantly that we must not take things for granted and must appreciate all that is good in our lives, at the same time navigating through the darkness with hope. And I think that navigating darkness through hope requires a good amount of training ourselves to be able to train and access those positive parts of our consciousness which are very much present in us. Cocoon, and he was watching the butterfly struggle. And when he saw the butterfly is being restricted by the cocoon, he since he was a kind man, he decided to bring butterfly out of its struggle. So what he did, he took a pair of scissors and he cut through the cocoon to make her exit from the cocoon easier. So the butterfly came out of the cocoon with a swollen body and the shorter wings. So the man kept watching the butterfly for quite long, hoping that the butterfly's swollen body would recover and his wings would enlarge so that she could take a flight of freedom from that restricted cocoon. However, that never happened, because the kind man did not understand the nature's phenomena, that the cocoon's restriction was meant to bring the fluid out of a butterfly's swollen body and pass it to her wings so that they could enlarge and allow her to exit from the cocoon at its own time and pace so that it could fly free. So the kindness of the man couldn't see that. Similarly, nature has designed each event in our life for a purpose. If we are able to see the meaning and purpose in the darkness, won't it be a great thing? It is like we are lighting up a candle of hope in the darkness, and we have that matchstick, that specific matchstick we need for every challenge, and to pass through it, to sail through it with much smoothness and ease, since we have a resource, the resource of a matchstick, a specific matchstick for that specific dark circumstance that we can light up. So if we try to exit through the darkness or the challenges in our life, just like having an easy way out, like the cocoon's exit, butterfly's exit from the cocoon, then we might end up in the situation where we have not grown fully to take on another challenge with ease, and have developed those gifts of how to navigate through adversity and light up our world, knowing that this is a part of growth and sailing through the life. Because life is not all a bed of roses, but we do have rainbows, we do have butterflies, we do have those beautiful flowers blossoming around as we are walking in a spring garden, enjoying the sunshine around us. That is one aspect of our life. But if we want to be a kind of imprisoned only in that aspect of our life, I think that possibility we need to rule out, because life is not like that. If there is light, there is darkness. If there is hope, there is darkness as well, and we can see that hope only by navigating through the darkness. However, due to the lack of resources, when we stop navigating it with hope, that is when we stop accessing our potential. That's when we stop growing and seeing through our human potential. So, rainbows are always there to enjoy after every storm. There are rainbows that are meant to be enjoyed. Rainbows are such an inspiration. Rainbows are, they speak of the positive emotion. So, having an access to that positive emotion is very important when we are sailing through the dark times, because that positive emotion is like a dose of a supplement that you need to endure through that darkness. So, training yourself around how to sail through that dark time, a challenging time, is very important. And it's a practice, a repetitive practice. That's why life throws us through different situations. And if we do not take our lessons, if we do not connect with those resources within us that could allow us to sail through the darkness by looking at our own capacities for growth and looking at our own positive points that are stored within our own mind and brain, and access those positive points to create health for ourselves and to look at darkness as not something bad, and able to deal with our fears and insecurities in that darkness with the help of those resources. I think we can find hope in every adversity. Light is like having a torchlight that is in the hands of something larger than you. Hope is that aspect of you that is very much present within you. However, to access it, we really need to stay inspired. We really need to have an access to that light around us. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Sound of Inspiration. I hope it served you well. Stay tuned for another episode.